Welcome to today's episode of Behind the Red Door, where we have the privilege of speaking with Brad Nahrstadt, the Grand President of Sigma Phi Epsilon. I'm Bob Anderson, District Governor of District 22, and in this episode, we'll be diving into SigEp's bold new strategic plan, Raise the Bar, which charts an ambitious path forward for every chapter and member of our fraternity. Brad will share some insights on how this plan is designed to make Sigma Phi Epsilon the largest and best fraternity on every campus, where we proudly fly our flag. We'll explore how undergraduates, alumni, and volunteers can play a crucial role in this transformation and what it takes to implement this vision of our strategic plan on your campus. Whether you're a current member, an alumnus, or someone looking to support SigEp's mission, this episode is packed with valuable guidance on how we can all raise our bar together. So with that, please welcome Brad Nahrstadt. So to start with, we're looking at Raise the Bar. What was, and you mentioned this at the district governor's meeting, but can you elaborate on the vision behind Raise the Bar and what motivated the fraternity to set this very ambitious goal at this point in time?
Yeah, so that's a good question, Bob. You know, we had a strategic plan that was very big and very unwieldy. There were 9 separate elements to that plan. Many of them had multiple, what I'll call, initiatives underneath them. And it was too much. We just realized that when we created the plan, we probably were a little bit more ambitious than we should have been. We thought maybe we would tackle everything instead of really concentrating on a few specific areas that we think will really move the fraternity forward.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was elected Grand President, I had a conversation with Tom Jelke, who was a past Grand President and really the driving force behind the original strategic plan. And he said, I think you probably agree with me that plan's just too big and it's unwieldy, and we probably need to pare it down and figure out what do we really need to focus on. And he said, can I take a first crack at that? Can I give you some ideas on what I think a revised strategic plan, a really focused and pinpoint strategic plan should look like? And I said, yeah, go for it. And so he came to the board with some ideas. The board spent some time talking about it and ultimately came up with the Raise Your Bar, which is the new strategic plan that will carry SigEp forward for the next 4 years. And it's really a concentrated and focused plan that I think takes into account where we are now. We probably could not have done this before we got what I will say is our house in order. We had at some past conclaves, 2015, 2017, 2019, we had legislation that was introduced to eliminate the pledge model from our member development program, to make our chapter houses substance free, to redraft, recompose, streamline, and update the ritual. And now that those things have been adopted, they've been implemented, we've had undergraduates operating under a single BMP model, substance-free model, for a while now. We really felt as a board that it was time for us to get back to growing. And that's really what kind of focused this plan and underlies this entire plan. Was we think that we're now finally in a position to be able to grow.
It's a really interesting background and kind of a segue into what we're talking about today. What do you see as sort of the primary challenges facing the chapters as they try to become the largest and the best?
I think probably the biggest challenge, Bob, is I think there are a lot of chapters out there who have gotten good and they're okay with being good. I think that there's this idea that good is good enough, and I think there's a hesitancy to try and get bigger. I think that there isn't so much a hesitancy to get better, but I think bigger scares people because I think they think that they'll lose control, that they'll lose focus. I hear a lot from chapters. Well, the brotherhood just won't be the same. And when I try to when I talk to chapters, I'm like, but if if right now you're the number two chapter on campus in terms of numbers,
Mhm.
and you're 150, and being the biggest means that you would be 160. There is real no there's no real difference between 150 and 160. You're not
Yeah.
going to lose your identity. You're not going to lose the cohesiveness, whatever words you want to use, by growing, by getting a little bigger. And I've had folks ask me, well, what's this focus on being the biggest and the best? And I said, well, best I think is self-explanatory, right? Why would you
Mhm.
not want to be the best? No matter what you're doing,
Right.
why would you not want to be the best? To me, the biggest part goes hand in hand with best, because if we are the best organization on campus, if we are the best experience for young men who are interested in fraternity, then we should be the biggest, because they should be saying, look, these guys have what I'm interested in. I'm interested in a 4-year continuous member development program. I'm interested in an experience that isn't revolving around hazing and forced alcohol consumption. I'm interested in living in a chapter facility that's clean, that's quiet, that encourages people to think and to study and to spend time with each other in a meaningful way, as opposed to just being a place where people party and wreck the facility. So there's a whole lot, in my opinion, there's a whole lot of young men out there on campuses where we have SigEp chapters who just aren't even looking at the fraternity experience, because they think it's all about partying, it's all about degradation, it's all about abuse, and they're not interested in that experience. So I think we have to get better, at telling our story. We have to get better at differentiating ourselves from everybody else. And we have to really encourage our undergraduate brothers to embrace this idea that bigger is better, that it brings with it a whole new set of opportunities for them to learn, to grow. It exposes them. The more people they have in their chapter, the more viewpoints they're exposed to, the more walks of life they're exposed to, the more experiences they're exposed to. Getting more people in the chapter gives them more financial opportunity to do more things. There's a whole host of really good, important things that can happen when a chapter reaches peak performance, when they optimize their member development program and they optimize the number of people that are being exposed to that program.
Yeah, that's a fascinating response, because you've got the need to change our mindset, because we can really fall into that glasses half full, and that's okay.
Right.
And I'm an advocate was not only is it half full, but you need a bigger glass. Right? Like,
Yes.
don't
Yes.
settle for that. And there is a mindset that goes around that says, I I'm thirsty to grow. Like, and even from a career perspective, and even at my age, I continue just to suck in as much information as I can. And a lot of that went back to my days in the chapter at Lehigh, because I was so curious about what was going on.
Hmm.
And so now when I work with clients and managers and executives, I try to help them think through their mindset. Where are they on that mindset journey? So with that, I know there's a huge need for volunteer support.
Yeah.
What is, I guess the first question, because I want to get this out to a lot of the alumni boards, what are some of the things that we can do to really recruit the volunteers and help them buy into this strategic plan, which I think you've mentioned at the district governors meeting. This is a really exciting proposition.
It is.
So what are some thoughts that you've had, or maybe some contacts and some conversations with alumni? What do you see as some of the things that we have to do to get them hooked into this?
Well, I think one of the important things, and we did talk about this at the district governor retreat, which is we know that if this plan is going to be successful, we have to have robust volunteer support, because we can't leave this up to the undergraduates to do it on their own. They're not equipped to do it on their own, right? They don't have the life experience. They don't have in a lot of instances they don't have the skills to be able to really put into place a revised and robust balanced man program, to be able to focus on the importance of growth and what you need to do from a blocking and tackling perspective
Hmm.
to make sure that you grow. And so we know that we've got to get volunteers involved in the chapter in order to help them make this plan a reality. And we also know, and this is 120 years of experience has taught us that when we have chapters that have a full complement of engaged volunteers, they excel. When we have chapters that don't have volunteers, or they have a volunteer who can only do so much, they struggle, and they have real problems blossoming and growing and expanding. And so we know that if we're gonna be successful at the chapter level, uh, which is fundamentally what we want, right? We
Hmm.
want our
Yeah,
chapters
yeah.
to be successful. Obviously, we want the milestones in this strategic plan to be hit, and we want at the end of the 4 years to be able to say, we really knocked it out of the park. We came up with a strategic plan. We were focused on execution. We did what we needed to do, and it worked. But at the base level, we really want the chapter experience to be a good one for the undergraduates, and that really uh, goes back to having volunteers in place. And we've recognized that at least in this first year of the plan, we have to concentrate on four biggies, right? What I'll call the four big uh, positions that we want to make sure we fill at every chapter, which is the chapter counselor,
Hmm.
the balanced man steward,
Hmm.
the a mentor for the VP of recruitment, and a mentor for the VP of communications. Right?
Hmm.
We know that those four positions in particular are vitally important, not only to maintaining chapter health, but in helping the chapter reach the milestones in this plan. And so what we're focused on, um, headquarters staff knows. We've discussed this with the district governors. Calls have gone out. Requests have been made via social media that we really need to find people that have the skill set that would allow them to excel in one of these four mentor roles uh, at a chapter that's near them. Doesn't have to be their home chapter. I mean, it'd be
Yep.
great if they want to get working with their home chapter. But
Yep.
if their home chapter, if they went to the University of Illinois, and that's their home chapter, and they're now living in Southern California, there are plenty of opportunities for them to volunteer in Southern California in one of those four roles.
Hmm.
And by the way, I want to make sure that we're clear about this, Bob. We're not saying that the other roles don't need to be filled, right? Because in the end, the strategic plan envisions that by the time the plan is over, every chapter will have a fully staffed AVC and a full mentor board. So that's the goal. We know that it's important for long-term chapter success for all those positions to be filled. But short term, we understand that in order for this plan to get off the ground, in order for us to hit the ground running, we need to have those big four filled. So if anybody is out there and they've been away from the fraternity for a while, and they're getting the volunteer itch, then contact headquarters and let them know where they are, what they're interested in doing. if maybe we've got someone out there who is in sales, right, and says, I think I would probably be a pretty good person to mentor the VP of recruitment, because what is that? That's sales,
Yep.
right? Or maybe you've got somebody out there who's in corporate communications and say, well, you know what? I can give you a perfect example from my home chapter. We have an alum who spent 35 years in basically corporate communications. His job was to help corporations craft a message and deliver it to the
Yep.
public.
Yep.
And so when he retired, he signed up to be the mentor to our VP of communications, because that's his thing. That's what really gets him going. And so he had not been involved as a volunteer before,
Hmm.
but he was at the point in his life where it's like, look, I've got time. I think I've got the expertise. And he contacted the chapter and said, do you guys have a VP of communications? We're like, we sure do. And we're like, Bill, you're it. You're the mentor for that guy. So another example, from guy that was in the chapter, my chapter, home chapter, Illinois Gamma. When I was there, he was a couple years behind me. He sent me a text the other day, and he said, I just wanted you to know that I got the latest issue of the journal.
Hmm.
And I read your message in there about the strategic plan. Got me really excited. It said, I know that you've basically spent your entire adult life volunteering for the fraternity, and I think it's time that I do the same thing. It's time that I give back. So what should I
Wonderful.
do?
Yeah.
So
Wonderful.
I said, Pete, contact Brian Tenslinger at headquarters. Let him know that you want to volunteer. He'll let you know. Pete lives here in the Chicago suburbs, just like
Yep.
me. He'll
Yep.
he'll let you know where there are volunteer opportunities, and he'll plug you in, where he thinks that you might be the best fit. So that's what we really need. We need people who believe in the power of their SigEp experience,
Hmm.
who recognize that their involvement in the fraternity is a big part of who they are and what they became, and believe that they need to give back, that they need to try and repay the debt that they incurred, all the good things that happened to them because of their involvement in the fraternity. And we need those people to let us know, raise their hand and say, I'm here, I'm ready to go. Where do you think I can best serve? And we will plug those people in where they will do the most good.
Yep. Yep. I've got a couple in my on my list of people to contact that are interested in doing work within my district. Question though is, what resources do we have that help? Uh, well, both ways for the undergraduate chapters to best figure out how to connect with the alums, and then what kind of training, what kind of insights, what kind of outline do we have for the alums to kind of jump back in and work with undergraduates,
Yeah.
which as you get older becomes a little, quite frankly, a little daunting.
Yes. Yeah. No question. Both very good questions, Bob. So the undergrads, they have a wealth um, of information at their fingertips, right? This is the digital generation. They spend all their time online. They can very easily contact headquarters, go to the SigEp website, reach out and say, hey, we need somebody that can mentor our VP of finance. Maybe
Yep.
they've got
Yep.
somebody who, their VP finance doesn't have anybody to mentor them, and headquarters can reach out and try and help find somebody to fill that position. They can work with their AVC, right, which is a local resource for them. Say, hey, we need help with this. Who is there anybody on the AVC who can help? If not, do you guys know anybody who is in the alumni ranks who may be able to fill this particular need? So they can work with their regional director, or their, I guess now we've changed the names, right? They can work with their chapter services director. They can work with their chapter success person, whoever is providing service to them
Yeah.
from the headquarters staff is another great resource for them to try and find somebody that may be able to help them from an alumnus standpoint, with whatever area they're struggling with. for the alums, we've gotten very serious, and certainly in the last 2 years, in uh, preparing, curating, making available training for volunteers. We have a volunteer education committee that's chaired by Wendell Rakoski. He and his group have done an incredibly good job in
Hmm.
preparing educational materials for the volunteers. For the first time ever, SigEp has a director of volunteer education, and there's someone on staff who's responsible for drafting and updating and rolling out education specific to volunteers, both generally and role specific. So these four big roles that I talked about, the four that we want to have filled in this next year,
Yeah.
there is specific education for each of those roles, basically saying, here's what you need to know in order to do this job well.
Yeah.
Here are the resources that we've put together for you to use to be a success in this role. We also have more general um, educational materials for volunteers who, as you pointed out, may have been away from the fraternity for a while. So an educational session, SigEp 101, right, which basically walks you through the Balanced Man program. Because
Hmm.
if you haven't graduated as a SigEp in the last 25 or 30 years, you probably don't know what the Balanced Man program is because you didn't go through anything like it when you were an undergrad, right?
Yeah. Yep.
There's also information about what does it mean when we say that our facilities are substance free. There are educational sessions about working with today's undergraduates. General education sessions about mentoring. What does that mean? What's expected? What should you expect of the person that you're mentoring? What
Yeah.
should they expect from you? So we've tried to take all what I would call the pain points
Hmm.
of volunteering, right? And we've tried to create interactive, engaging educational material that will allow volunteers to say, okay, I'm a little nervous about volunteering because I've not done it before and I've been away from the fraternity for a while, but give them the information that we think they need in order to be comfortable with coming forth and volunteering, and to give them the tools that will allow them to be successful in whatever position they're volunteering for.
Yeah. Yeah, I've gone through some of the training and have looked at like the whole curriculum and then did a deep dive in a couple of them. It's brilliant. It's really good.
Yeah.
And
Kate spent a lot of time making sure that it's current, that it's engaging, that it delivers the information that they really need to be able to do their job. And there's going to be more coming. I mean, the Wendell's committee, which is a standing committee, they were very busy in the 2 years before the 2023 conclave. They've been busy since the 2023 conclave in anticipation of the 2025 conclave. So they're going to continue to roll out more and more education because we know we can't just ask someone to fill a role and then say, okay, good luck.
yep,
Yeah.
yep, absolutely. And my background is training and instructional design. And when I look at it, I said, this is not only teaching me some of the skills to have, but also my attitude towards it, my excitement about it.
Yep.
It's connecting me with the affective side of myself. Like, oh yeah, I remember those days. I remember getting together. I remember how much fun we had, and how much I grew. And
Right.
that, I think that's part of the motivation to pull alums in to kind of rekindle that spirit.
Yeah, I think you touch on a very important point, Bob, which is we want to remind our alumni of just how formative that experience was.
Hmm. Hmm.
They're a much different person than they would have been had they not had that experience we call fraternity.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll drop a lead here for folks to go back and listen to your our interview with you as you just became grand president, and you were talking about how you know what life was like as a freshman at Monmouth, and
Hmm.
you had no interest in the fraternity.
Zero.
Yeah, and that journey, your story of that journey was really quite compelling, and that I think you're kind of case in point of why we have to really think through how we are attracting young men and what they see and what it can do for them, and not a Me Too kind of an organization,
Right.
but
No,
a
it and
unique experience.
and there's so many kids out there, I think, who really need what we have to offer.
Hmm.
And they're not even interested in looking at us because of all the negative publicity, and the movies like Animal House, and they just don't understand that we're a different animal, right? That when we say, this fraternity will be different, we really meant it,
Yeah,
and we still
yeah,
mean it, and we're trying to give young men what they need in a safe and inclusive and nurturing space that will allow them not only to grow, but to excel, to thrive, to find the things that they're passionate about, and give them the opportunity to turn that passion into reality.
yeah.
That's why I'm so fond, so energized by this plan, because if we do it right, we're going to reach a whole lot of people who really need what we've got to offer.
Yeah, it really is. And just now, as we're talking, I reflect back on some of my moments as an undergraduate, and remembering I took over the what is now like the balanced band program. We called it Pledge Educator back in those days, and I
Yep.
said, we're not doing it that way. We're doing it differently. I had no idea what I was doing, but I said that didn't work. And so I kind of turned it into like almost seminars and experiential activities where we met with different people, met with different alums. If you remember Babe Fly, he was a
Yeah.
local past grand president, 1947, I believe, 48, somewhere in there, and he was a local, and he came and visited and talked with the undergraduates, and they were kind of like, okay. And then they said, "Who was that guy again?" I said, "It was Graham President." I'm sure he'd do Uncle Billy. You know?
Undoubtedly,
Yeah,
undoubtedly.
yeah.
This is
So
Bob. It's
that connection was so much fun.
it's for can I tell you a quick story about Babe Fly?
Yeah.
So, Monmouth received their charter in May of 1948,
Okay.
and Babe Fly was the grand president, so he
Yep.
signed our charter.
Oh, cool.
And so the charter that was hanging in our chapter room obviously had his signature on it. And when I was a pledge, because this was again long before the Balanced Man program,
Yep.
one of the questions that we were asked, that we were required to find an answer to, when we first joined, was, where is the fly on the wall? And we
Beautiful.
had no idea what people were talking about, right? So we're all going through the three-story chapter house looking for a fly, right? Like the insect.
Yep.
And nobody could figure out what they were talking about, until eventually somebody pointed out to us, go in the chapter room and look at the charter. And we looked at the charter, and sure enough, there was his signature. So I have a connection to him,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
kind of a weird way, because he was the grand president, signed our charter,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
was one of the things that we were asked to figure out, was where was the fly on the wall.
Oh, that is a beautiful story. I love that. So when I first met him, I just reached out and called him, and I had no idea what I was doing, and I was like probably like you, a very shy and bashful undergraduate, and he could not have been more gracious. Invited me over to his house to have dinner with he and his wife Jean, and he just talked about the fraternity back in the 40s,
Yeah.
and I was mesmerized. And that was, I think, that was one of my hooks into ultimately joining the headquarters staff, because I saw the the size of the group and the impact it had, and the longevity of those kinds of relationships. That was just so brilliant, so brilliant. And then when I went to conclaves, he introduced me to all his buddies.
Oh, and then you were hooked.
I was hooked.
That'll do it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I don't want to hold you much any longer, but what do you see are some of the, I don't know, the sort of the key where do we start? Because I think first we have to make sure people understand and get the gist of the strategic plan and get excited about it.
Yeah.
But then the question becomes, okay, what do I do tomorrow? Like what's my actions? What how do I change my thinking? How do I change my behavior to start going down this path? Because like businesses, many strategic plans just sit there in a notebook in the conference room, and they don't come to life. So what's your thoughts about how we bring this to life?
So I think it's a number of things. One is, as you pointed out, Bob, people need to understand the strategic plan, right? They need to understand there are essentially four areas that we're focusing on. We have this. If you go to the website and you click on the link for the strategic plan, it'll take you to the strategic plan and talk all about the strategic plan. And you'll see there's a graphic. It's a mountain, because
Yeah.
each layer of this plan is built on the one below it. So at the very top is growth, right? We
Hmm.
need to grow. We need to get bigger. We need to provide our experience to more young men than ever before. And
Hmm.
underneath growth is development. We need to revamp the Balanced Man program. We need to completely reevaluate the SigEp learning community program, and we're doing both of those things right now. Right, we've got a pilot program. We had in the spring 30 chapters. We're in the pilot program for a new, more exciting Balanced Man program. There will be 60 chapters doing it in the fall. And then we're going to take everything that we've learned from all of those chapters that were in the pilot program, and we're going to make sure that we've got a development program that is really geared towards what young men want today. Underneath the development is volunteer support, because we know we can't grow, we can't provide the experience that we need to provide if we don't have volunteers supporting the chapter at a local level. And underneath all of that is the financial investment. Right, to do all of these things is going to take resources, and so we're in the process of launching the largest campaign we've ever attempted in an effort to raise money to make sure that the things that are in the strategic plan become permanent, that they're going to be here for the long term. So people need to first understand what the plan's about. Then
Yeah.
they need to think about, okay, well, where can I make a difference, right? If they're not volunteering, uh, start to volunteer. If they are volunteering, maybe there's something else they can do in the volunteer ranks. Maybe there's something more suited to their talents than what they're doing now. Figure that out, and ask to move to a different spot if they think they can do a better job someplace else. If they're interested in the development of young men, then certainly reach out to headquarters and ask how they can be involved on a local level in the pilot program. See if they can help a chapter navigate what this new Balanced Man program is going to look like. If they have the ability and the capacity, they can immediately get involved in trying to help us grow. Right, you've seen, because I know that you're tapped in to the SigEp network.
Oh yeah.
Our message for the last year has been a message of growth. Why it's important that we grow, what it means to grow in a healthy way. And I feel like I have to say this, Bob. We are not talking about growth for growth's sake. I don't believe that quality and quantity are mutually exclusive. We're
Correct.
not
Yeah.
telling
Absolutely.
chapters to just go out and get anybody with a pulse. What we're saying is there are a lot of young men on your campus with the attributes of a good SIG app. someone who's a decent person, someone who's interested in learning, someone who's dedicated to bettering themselves, to getting a degree, to being a contributing member of society. Those people are out there and they're just not looking at fraternity because they don't really know what we're about. Those are the people that we're encouraging chapters to go get, right?
Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
find more of the people that you know would make good SigEps, but you're not finding them at this point. And if there are alumni who are interested, who take up this challenge and say, I agree that we need to get bigger. I agree that we have an experience that more and more young men need to be exposed to. Then I would encourage them to to find a chapter that's near them and say, look, what can I do to help you guys grow? What can I help you put on for a clinic for your members about how to do rush the right way, how to do recruitment the right way?
Yeah.
What let's set up a system where everybody in the chapter is assigned to one potential new member, and they have to make sure that they either close that guy or if he says no, find someone to replace him.
Yeah.
If
Beautiful.
if they've got the if they, in their work life, if they've had experience in sales, in recruiting, in training, in setting up systems that allow their company, their store, whatever it is, to grow, to get bigger, to get better, then they've got the skills that our young men need. They've got the skills that the undergraduates need to learn from them, to absorb those and say, okay, how are we going to apply these skills to our chapter experience? So that today they can get involved. Any one of the four buckets is available for people to get involved in now. And I would be remiss if I didn't say, if they haven't contributed to SigEp financially, I would encourage them to do so. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be $1 million gift. Don't get me wrong. There's someone out there who wants to give us $1 million gift. We'll take it. But every amount helps. So
Yeah.
if they haven't given in the past, give $50, give $100. Support their chapter. They can make it restrictive to their chapter. They can
Mhm.
go find out what uh, scholarships their chapter is offering, what funds their chapter has available for them to contribute to. Just chip in a little bit. Every little bit helps. So there are a myriad number of ways that people can get involved to help us move this plan forward and make SigEp a better organization in 4 years than it is now.
Yeah. Beautiful. And of course, the research shows that we follow our money. So if
Yeah.
I contribute, I'm much more interested in how my chapter is doing or the fraternity's doing.
No question.
Yeah.
I mean, people give to the causes they believe in, and when they give, they want to see those causes be successful.
Yeah.
And so you're right. I mean, if we can get people to contribute, and there's three ways. I always say when I talk to alumni, there's three ways that you can support SigEp with your time, your talent, or your treasure. We'll
Hmm.
take all three.
Yeah.
If you can only give us your time, great. If you can only give us, you've got talent to give, perfect. If you can only give us your treasure, we'll take that too.
Yep.
But we need all three in order to be successful. And so there are don't think that you as one individual cannot make a difference, because you can.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, and I have had a chance to work with some of the new staff members over the last month or so, and because I've got 5 of them in my region, so I'm trying to learn them all. And I've got to say, the talent we have this year is just brilliant.
Yeah.
They are thoughtful and engaged and professional. I'm really excited about what I'll see coming out of their efforts.
Yeah, I am too.
And
We've got a great group of folks on staff this year in
yeah,
particular. We've got. I think we have the group to make sure that we start this plan on the right foot.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And now some of the changes within the district governor program is really quite exciting. So
I'm
I,
glad you say that, Bob.
yeah, because I think we're coming. we're starting to recognize our role in how we do things, and we're not just like shepherding people or overseeing people. We're actually helping to make things happen.
Right. I mean, you
You
guys
know?
all have an oar in the boat.
Yep.
If everybody's pulling in the same direction, we're gonna. I think in 4 years we're gonna look back and say, "Wow, we did some great stuff."
Yeah.
And I agree. I think we've got a great group. This may be, and I say this, by the way, as a former district governor. This may be the strongest group of district governors we've had. I mean, we've got
Wow.
a great group of very dedicated district governors who I think, at least what I've heard, have embraced the plan, and are excited to try and make sure that this plan becomes a reality. And I think, as you said, we've actually given you guys, the here's an oar. Start rowing with us. It's not
Yep.
managing. We need you guys out there, helping us find these people, recruiting people, getting them in the right spots so that we can make this plan a success.
Yeah. I just recently saw uh, the movie uh, Boys in the Boat.
Yeah,
It's
great movie.
a yeah, George Clooney, I think, produced it, and there is such a wonderful metaphor about how when everybody is really, really working together in a smooth, like single unit, you can accomplish amazing things.
Yep. And
Accomplish
if you're
amazing
not, if you're not all rowing in the same direction, boat just goes in a circle.
things. And the ones that aren't rowing, their oars splash.
Exactly.
So we don't want any oars splashing. We want all the oars working together. So anyhow, thank you so much. Do you have any kind of final words or
Well, I guess maybe my final words, Bob, are what I said at the district governor retreat, which is, I've been volunteering with the fraternity for 32 years in one capacity or another, and I have never been more excited about the future of the fraternity than I am now. I
yes?
think we have uh, finally got our house in order. We know that we are a strong organization in terms of the program we provide, the experience that we're giving to young men, and I think we're finally at a point where we can grow, and we have a definitive plan to do so. And I think we have the right people in place at all levels to make the plan a success. So I've never been more excited than I am today to be a SigEp. I think we're going to look back on this time as a time of great accomplishment, and I maybe even a little bit look back on it with some wonder that we were, bold enough and excited enough to create this strategic plan. And I think, we'll get to the end and we'll be able to say, you know what, we are a much better organization now than we were before we started this.
Yeah,
And aren't we doing a lot of great things for the young men of this country who, as I said, really need what we've got to offer?
yeah.
So I'm excited. I hope everybody else that it looks at the plan and takes some time to think about the plan is excited. And I hope that they'll roll up their sleeves and they'll help us get it done.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I'll be sure to put some links into this podcast
Perfect.
to go back to the strategic plan and even the volunteer support connection. Like, who do I contact?
Excellent.
I can
That'd
put
be
that in
great.
there as well. So
Thanks,
excellent.
Bob.
Brad, thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure talking with you too. I hope I'll see you soon.
Thanks. You
All
too.
right.
Bye bye.
See ya. Bye bye.